I think that this came through because it was necessary to start working deeper and no longer surface heal, but go deep and to shift things quickly so that we can experience this awakening faster and for people who are ready.
Hi, I'm Swara, and welcome to Akashic Records Unlocked, a summit to spread awareness and share insights about healing in the Akashic Records to bring more happiness and abundance and maybe even a little magic into our lives. We're super excited to have a guest today, Melissa Feick. Melissa is a writer and advanced intuitive who leads metaphysical workshops and spiritual retreats, providing people with a path to their authentic self. She is the best-selling author of a book called A Radical Approach to the Akashic Records, Master Your Life and Raise Your Vibration, now available on Amazon.com, and creator of Activating Ascension classes and Akashic Records certifications taught through her Spiritual Expansion Academy. Melissa guides her students to experience their multidimensional self through high-frequency activations and deep metaphysical classes. She lives her life guiding and supporting those experiencing their individual spiritual awakening. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, so happy to be here. You know, Akashic Records love that topic, so thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. We're so excited to be talking about the Akashic Records. So right off the bat, what are the Akashic Records?
Well, so the Akashic Records, which you know, most people do know, that they are it's an imprint of energy of what we've experienced through lifetimes and even beyond lifetimes, in between lives as well. But years and years ago, I actually used to read the records. And this was before it was popular, before the books were out to read the records in a very specific way. And it was just something that came naturally to me. And then I kind of moved away from reading the records. And so through the 2000s into 2010 and beyond, I didn't really do much with the Akashic Records. And then I was in a meditation and I got a full download. And they were talking about the Akashic Records. And I said, well, I don't really do that. And they said, no, there's a different frequency that we want you to work on with the Akashic Records. And as that download came through, I thought, what is this? And I discovered this whole new frequency. And it's not, you know, you're going to this level of that and this and that. It's very clear. What they showed me was that we have the mental, emotional, mental, you know, the physical plane, the emotional plane, the mental plane. And we're trying to master these planes. And we have a physical body, an emotional body, and a mental body. And we're trying to master these bodies here. And what they said is you need to go beyond those planes into the quantum field. And there are records in the quantum field that are different than the records on the lower energies. And they're all valid, right? So the records on the emotional plane are just as valid as the records on the mental plane and the records in the quantum field. But they're just different, right? So it's all valid, but just different. And what they showed me is that working through these records, just one thing at a time, isn't the way that the energy is moving. We need to do quicker and more chunks of frequency shifts. So it's less about past lives and more about the pattern that we create that we've come here to transcend. And I'll just add one more thing about these Akashic Records, that they can actually be rewritten. So the records on the emotional plane or the mental plane, they're like written in stone, is the way I kind of describe it. So there's really no way to change it. But when you're in the quantum field and in those records, there's a shift of energy. So when you heal something on the Akashic Records on the quantum field, you're rewriting your records. which shifts you on multi-dimensionally, and it also changes your vibration.
Wow, that's extremely powerful. I think that's amazing because the way that I understand it, in the Akashic Records, there is no time or space. So all of those memories, all those experiences are actually existing simultaneously. So if you can change something over here, that it would actually change the whole field. It'll change yourself in this moment.
Yes. And what I was shown was that this is one way for us to help us accelerate our ascension process. Mm-hmm. And just briefly, the ascension is really about raising our vibration and getting to a whole new level. And look, spiritual awakening, it's like happening all over the place really fast. People are waking up and accelerating their consciousness quickly. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was shown this. And it made sense to me. And it just made so much sense. And then I started working with my clients, and the depth of the healing was so phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And they were going from 0 to 60. They were healing lifetimes of issues, mm-hmm. of victimization patterns, of patterns of abandonment, patterns of lack of abundance. And they were shifting it within 4 months.
Wow, that is amazing because the clients, at least that I see, a lot of them will have some kind of core issue or something that they just feel like is holding them back. Like they've done so much internal work. They've done so much like counseling and talking about and healing exercises. But sometimes there's just that one thing that they really want a little extra boost on. And the Akashic Records are so great for that because it's information that comes in on a different level, on a higher perspective that includes, all the various dimensions within it. And like you're saying, things are happening so fast. People are evolving so very quickly that this work right now, what you're doing, just sounds like it fits right into that. And you're seeing really great results with that. Can you tell us more about when you said ascension, actually, that really kind of, I'd love to learn more about that. Do you think that that's something that everybody is working through right now? Like that's what's on tap for, life school?
Yes. Yeah. I like to say that the ascension is happening whether you know about it or not, mm-hmm. or you believe in it or not. Mm-hmm. And really, basically what it's saying is we've been in this energy of duality for so long, for lifetimes. And we've been experiencing this matrix of the earth plane. And it's an evolutionary process. Mm-hmm. It's just moving from we've been in a very dense frequency. We're moving from a dense frequency to a less dense frequency. And when that starts to happen, your intuitive gifts open up. You're more aware of your past lives. You're more connected multidimensionally. You feel a little bit more like, hey, maybe I'm not alone in this world. Maybe there's something more. What else is there? Boy, I've been struggling for so many years. What else is there? And all of a sudden a book falls off a shelf and they start reading it, or Amazon nowadays. And, it changes their life. Yeah. It's in a spiritual evolvement. So it's really the awareness that we are not just human. Yeah. And so many people hold on to this fact that we are human beings, that maybe there's life after death, maybe there's a heaven. And I believe in heaven, but the people who are waking up spiritually, they're like, wait a minute, there's more to this life. Yeah. And then they experience it. So the ascension is really just an evolutionary process of our consciousness, yeah, evolving into the awareness and being able to be in a physical body during that experience.
Wow, that is just so exciting to me, actually, because I feel like, whoa, what a great time to be here to be a part of that, especially us talking about the Akashic Records, to be able to be part of that expansion in a really active and direct way, helping other people do that as well. It's just an exciting time for like group consciousness to be shifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is an important time too. And many people have chosen to incarnate at this time. And many of those people are leaders. They are what I call vibrational leaders. So they're holding a frequency for all of us.
Wow.
And and people who are experiencing their awakening, they're experiencing it because it just is natural. They have to experience it. It's like, when you're like, I really feel like I need to go talk to that person. That's what's happening to so many people. And no one's right or wrong around this. No one has the answer. There's no one answer for everyone.
Right.
So that's why we have so many possibilities.
Right. Wow. I what you're saying really shows me that people are opening up to their own inner guidance and getting on board with their own sort of inner program and trusting themselves, so that it's not necessarily coming outside of themselves, but really trusting their own hearts. And that's so powerful. And so activating that connection to other realms, like you said, like a book drops, or like, I need to speak to that person. That's where I feel like the magic happens, like that you're being guided and that we are getting more magic in our lives by connecting to that. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, with consciousness, what people have to kind of understand is that even if it's a guide or an angel that's talking to you, they have to come through your higher consciousness anyway. So whether it's coming from outside of you or from within you, it's still the same energy. And if we're all one, then it's still the same energy.
Right. That's beautiful. So as you're working with people and you're helping them to like unlock these things, and what do you feel like is one of your best tools to help them make that jump forward?
Well, of course, meditation, I think, is a good tool. That aside, and good meditations like that will really raise your frequency. I find that raising your frequency meditations are different than, go meet your guide meditation.
Right.
But the other tool I always look at are the Akashic Records, and moving into them and looking at, okay, so let's back up a hair. The first thing most people need to start looking at are, what are my patterns in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Not what's my past life, but what's the full scope of a pattern. Like, I was just with a client earlier, and we were talking about an abuse/victimization pattern, but she didn't have, quote, abuse in her life that she saw. But remember, abuse is mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and sexual. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of types of abuse that fall under the radar. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden she had this huge aha moment. She's like, I have been a victim my whole life, but I thought everybody else around me were victims. I didn't see my own patterns. And it's the awareness, because a lot of times we just go through life kind of in a daze. Mm-hmm. But that means we're giving our power away to outside things that are creating our world. Mm-hmm. In order to create the world that we want, or we want to perceive or experience, we have to look at our own stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's not always fun. Like, who wants to look at your victim pattern? Ugh. That doesn't sound like fun to me.
Right.
But when you get to the other side of that, that's empowering.
Right.
So for me, the tools that I have people do is look at the bigger pattern. So it's not just, a belief system, right? That I believe that people attack me. It's a pattern of victimization. It's a pattern of abuse. So that larger pattern gives you an empowerment that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then what I tell people is, you go into the Akashic Records and you ask to see where that pattern is on the cellular level, on the emotional, mental, physical level, in the records themselves, in your genetic line, like victim, 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 and in your DNA itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, when you're healing in the Akashic Records on the quantum field, you're healing on all those levels. So it's a whole different experience.
Oh, wow. You're right. As soon as you said that, something clicked and I could just see it. Like all of those levels are existing at the same time. So, yeah, you can access and heal all of them simultaneously. That's very powerful. Coming out of a process like that, I can just imagine like such a lightness and a shift that can happen that's available.
And people's stories change. So what will happen is, I'll say, I'm trying to think of a good story that somebody told me recently. I don't want to share too much detail, but basically this person had had some abuse, and it wasn't, it was enough that it was a trauma to her physical body. And then we did a bunch of work, and we looked at the pattern of victimization and abuse and the trauma itself, and shifted that energy, rewrote those records in the quantum field, the Akashic Records in the quantum field. And I went back and I said, so tell me how that story is different. And she said, wow, it's not a big deal.
Mm.
She said, I'm not as angry at this person as I was. I actually feel compassion for them. And that was I had done a couple sessions with her, but that was, about maybe 3 sessions in, we did that trauma. So it shifts, it rewrites the record. So now that record is no longer there, and they can live their life and experience their life differently. And I do want to add that, Swara, that this is I was given this, and I don't think that I'm special. Like, I have nothing, I'm just a receiver, right? And anybody can receive this kind of thing, and everybody can use this work. I don't hold it like nobody can do this. But I think that this came through because it was necessary to start working deeper, and no longer surface heal, but go deep, and to shift things quickly so that we can experience this awakening faster, and for people who are ready.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the example that you gave, it just sounded like what you were saying about like the emotional level and the physical level, it had all kind of dissipated and became lighter. And so, talking about it isn't painful. It's just something that is there, and now it's not a big deal. And what lightness that came in. And like you said, this work is so important right now for everyone, and it's time, and there's sort of like a quickening that's happening. I've noticed it with other people that I've been talking to. There's a speeding up of the whole process that's happening. So I think that what we do, Melissa, is we're definitely in service to the overall kind of group consciousness evolving, and also the Akashic Records just being here, being good soldiers and trying to do what we can. So, thank you so much for your work. And I just looking at your work also, and looking at your book, there's a lot there about light activation. Can you tell us a bit about what that is?
Yeah. So everything has a frequency, which we all understand that. It's proven scientifically that everything has a vibration. Everything's vibrating around us. And the light energy is how we communicate with the universe. So I'm going to say universe, that's all that is. You can call it creator, you can call it God, whatever energies you want to call it. So the universe is always, we're connecting and conversing back and forth all the time. And light is part of that conversation. And in that light, the light creates a sacred geometric vibration. Just like if you have sand and there's a vibration under the sand will create a very intricate but very clear geometric type of symbol, or when ice, snowflakes. It's a geometric symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how the matrix of our earth, and this is my understanding, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just how I perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
Our world is created through sound and light frequencies to create our own matrix, our own divine experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a light exchange and a code. So what happens with these little codes of light is that it says to the physical, mental, emotional bodies of the human, it will activate certain things. So this is the weird thing, is that they have something that scientists call junk DNA. Yeah, they call it junk DNA. And I'm like, yeah, that's hysterical. Like, it's just like they thought, oh, you don't need your appendix. And then they find out later, like, the appendix is, like, if your appendix is really sick, that means you're really sick. So now we know we need it. So the junk DNA, probably not. So it's really our new codex. And it's the new codes that are coming through. And a lot of people talk about light language. I don't do light language like a verbal thing, because I think light language is way beyond verbal communication. Mm-hmm. It's really a frequency, but it's how we create our reality. And then they also talk about the ascension creating a light body. Well, we can't create a light body if we have old patterns or old anger or old trauma stuck in the physical form. So these light codes come through, but they come through by these geometric shapes. Mm-hmm. And I will say this as well, when I mean a geometric shape, our reality and the whole universe is created through mathematical formulas. And they create a geometric shape, right? That, remember, geometry and trigonometry, it's all geometric. And, just like in the show The Matrix, or the movie The Matrix, or Star Trek, where it was just kind of like you could simulate your experience. Yeah. That's kind of what we're doing here. We're creating our experiences through the simulation, but we need light. Mm-hmm. And we need the formula to create that.
Wow.
So what happens is we were used to create just so haphazardly. Yeah. But as we awaken consciously, we can start recreating our own experiences. And we do that through light and combining all of that. Now, it's not as conscious as we might want to think. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's not like like earphones falling out. It's not as conscious as we might think it is. Yeah. But it's definitely happening because our higher consciousness knows what's going on.
Right. Wow, this is all really new stuff for me. It sounds incredibly powerful. And as you're speaking about it, it definitely resonates with me. I can feel it in my body, like, yes, there's truth here. So I'd love to learn more. So when you do light activations, is that something where that light shape that you're talking about, or that formula, is that something that people are turning on? You're helping people turn on or activate or upgrade to higher levels? Is that something that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like a download. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just how does that work? I'd love to know more.
Yeah. So I didn't come out and say, gee, I think I'll do this. Yeah. That's not how this happened, of course. I've been a meditator for many years. I've been teaching classes for a very long time. I've always asked, like, how may I be of service? What else can I do? What's faster? Like, that's always what I've asked. Mm-hmm. So I started with, healing modalities and learning metaphysics back in the 90s, because I was fascinated with all of these things. And then when I started learning healing modalities, I was like, what's faster? What's faster? Like, that's all I kept on asking. Like, spirit, what's faster? How can we get this deeper? What's deeper? What's faster? And I have been known. As a matter of fact, one friend of mine who used to take classes with me and she knows me very, very well. She's like, and everybody says, I'm known for my meditations. My meditations are very deep and they're very powerful. And so one day I lead a meditation where I just lead a group through a meditation and I channel it in the moment, right? So I don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they showed me this very complex pattern, like this picture back here, right? Except it was very 3D-ish, beyond 3D. Yeah. And it was this complex pattern. And they showed me how all the grids come through the body. And they said, we're going to just activate some of these people. And it just started happening. And what I saw were these like little crystalline energies coming through. And it was different for each person. So it wasn't like we were all receiving the same thing. It was very unique.
Wow.
And it's like an amazing chef who can just tweak their recipe for every person for their perfect experience, right? And that's how it was. It was like tweaked perfectly. And what I have seen with my clients who have done this work is that they come back to me and they're like, my whole life has changed.
Wow.
Because they are holding a different frequency. And, they're shifting that energy. Now, granted, most of these people have done multiple things with me. You can't really change your whole life through one meditation.
Sure.
It is a process, but people feel different. They feel lighter. They feel they feel the vibration of the meditations. Yeah. I don't know why. I just feel like, honestly, the human in me wants to say that, this is possible for everybody, right? So nobody's special. But I always ask, like, well, what happened that I was able to have this happen? And I don't know why I'm telling this story. I feel like it's pertinent to somebody who may be listening. Yes. And what I heard was, I wasn't afraid to do the work. Mm-hmm. I wasn't afraid to go there. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fearful person. Mm-hmm. And not only that, if I learned something, I taught it to other people. Mm-hmm. I didn't keep it and say, oh, what if somebody finds out and then it's my modality and I want to make sure I'm controlling it. That's not me.
Yeah.
So because of that, they bring through that information where it's going to be shared in whatever way it needs to be shared.
Yep. Yep.
And it's also my passion. They know that. So I think that, of course I probably had some sort of agreement coming here, but I just feel that we're all here doing the best we can. And if you falter a little, it's okay, because we're all going to falter. We're all going to trip. And just, keep on going and keep your heart open. Yeah. and love yourself through the process.
Yeah.
So, I feel that we're all here just doing the best we can.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And thank you for saying that, because I know that so many of our listeners are probably, wondering about this type of work, and that's why they've joined on. And to hear the words like, don't be afraid, and just do the work, and just kind of keep moving forward and listening to the guidance, that's just so powerful. And people actually need that encouragement just to be able to take those few steps. And then to have your guidance and know that from your experience, you've seen it. You've seen people's lives change and improve. And that's incredibly powerful too. So anyone who's out there listening, you're not walking on this road alone. Trust in your heart, be willing to do the work, have courage, don't be afraid, and keep taking those baby steps forward. Change can really happen and be real. And it actually reminds me a little bit about stuff that I've heard in the past about things like The Secret and things like that. And I know some people have tried, like thinking positively and putting out intentions, and maybe things aren't working as well as they would like or as fast as they like. But what you're saying about light activation and really changing the vibration that a person has and is putting out there, it seems to just make the system flow better and work better and actually bring the results that they're looking for. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. I'm not here, but yeah.
So let me explain something, if you don't mind. Yeah. So the subconscious rules our waking life, right? They say 95% of your life is ruled by your subconscious. That's under, and we don't know it. We're unaware that that reaction came because of lifetimes or your family genealogy of the pattern of victimization or of abandonment. So we're not aware of these underlying things. Most of us are not like clueless with this type of thing. And what happens is, I think, especially in the activations and the healing that I do, is that it shifts that energy. And then those things are no longer part of your genetic makeup. Mm-hmm. So it shifts the subconscious and the brainwave patterns. So really the subconscious is part of the whole brain. So what happens with the brain is that we have these neural pathways. Mm-hmm. And these neural pathways, if we do the same thing over and over again, just like, a stream cuts into a mountain, it flows in the same direction. Mm-hmm. So as we activate and we shift the vibration of ourselves, that shifts our reactions and shifts how we perceive the world. Mm-hmm. And the problem with just thinking positively, that is actually a form of spiritual bypassing. Mm. Because you can't think positive thoughts one moment and then be yelling at the person next to you in the next moment. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They're not congruent. So you're negating your positive thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like being upset with something is a bad thing, because you don't want to look at anything as good or bad. See, that's one of our problems in our world, is we live in a world of duality and we always have to put everything in boxes. But in oneness energy, there is no good or bad. So if you react that way, you want to say, okay, what's that? What is going on underneath? Mm-hmm. Because then, or what's in my shadow, right? That's what the shadow is. Because in that place, then you discover your power. Mm-hmm. Because for so long, you were giving your power away over to that shadow. Mm-hmm. For so long, right?
Right.
We don't want to do that. Yeah. And we don't want to bypass it. So don't get discouraged of this isn't working. Ask yourself, what else is there? Yep. What is that block? Because there are, and so everything I do does resonate in the energy of ascension. Mm-hmm. Because, and I remember exactly, the person who I heard about ascension with was back in 2000. And this person was telling me all about ascension. And I thought, what is that? Yeah. So I had to find out more. Yeah. It just fascinated me. And so all of these things, everything is the purpose is for us to raise our frequency and to become more of a light energy. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to become all light tomorrow, mm-hmm. or could. Mm-hmm. But it's basically light, thinking of it not just of like I turn on my light switch on and off, like a physical light. It's a light frequency. So people assume light means like, the sun light. Yep. In the quantum field, the energy is a void. So there is not a lot of light. Right. So it's a frequency. So I want people to start thinking of everything around you is just a frequency. Yeah. So you're putting out, and can I share something fun?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've watched thought forms. Okay. And what I've watched with thought forms over the years is that like, oh my gosh, I need to do my laundry. That thought form will come off somebody's head and it'll just go poof, right? It will just spiral a little bit and poof away, yeah. Right? Because it has no energy behind it, does it?
Right.
But a thought form that has a passion or a deep feeling behind it, that's powerful. Yeah. Right? There's a power behind it. Yeah. So a thought form of, I want to have the man of my dreams or the perfect partner for me. That thought form, if you have a fear or an anger of an old flame or old trauma from your dad, what do you think's driving that thought form? All those emotions. And when I see a thought form followed by a powerful emotion, it vibrates through the energy field, through your energy field, and then emanates out into the universe. And what do you think you're going to get back? The thought form that had that powerful emotion behind it.
Right.
So, we're all trying to do the best we can.
Yeah.
I try to make sure everybody don't stress over, like, if it's not coming, keep on asking yourself, what is my block?
Right.
Where's my emotional baggage?
Right.
Where's my shadow?
Right. So what you're describing with the frequency, it really sounds like, depending on where that's coming from, like there's an amplification that can happen as it kind of goes out into the universe. And that, really this work that we're talking about with light activation, the work in the Akashic Records especially, is about clearing and rewriting those moments, healing those moments, clearing any blocks. So that way, that place where we're coming from inside, just like that woman, that example you shared earlier, like those kind of negative, not to judge it, but those kind of places are healed and they no longer have that potent, powerful emotional energy behind it, so that you're more free to come from a place inside to amplify more of those positive feelings and more of the intention to bring in Mr. Right for the highest good, whatever that looks like, and to really bring in and come from and amplify that place inside of you. It's just a different source of frequency. That's beautiful. I love how it's all kind of coming together, everything that you're saying. And, I could see how it all works together. That's incredibly powerful. Yeah.
Right. And we are creating our reality. I mean, that's what they say anyway. So, what we put out there, don't beat yourself up over what you might put out there.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with and just recognize, okay, that didn't work out. What's going on?
Yeah. And everything is serving a higher perspective that maybe we don't even see. Like maybe it's just perfect the way that it is.
Yeah.
And, it's serving a purpose.
Right. So when I do this healing, I look at it like a transformation. So I don't really, even though I use the word healing, it's really a transformation. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing, and this is really kind of cool, and I write about this in my book, where when we start lifting out all these old patterns and issues and things, transforming them and transcending them,
right.
What makes it available is more energy availability for your higher state of consciousness.
Yeah.
And when you are more available to that higher state of consciousness of love, bliss, oneness, like you feel it.
Yeah.
Wow, the things that you attract. My life has changed dramatically because of all the work that I've done. Yeah. And especially in the last 4 years, while I was writing my book, they would told me, do this. I mean, the things I accomplished the year I wrote my book and published it was astronomical. I can't even believe I finished all those things. But they were like, get all these things in place because as soon as that book goes out there, something's going to you're going to change. Everything's going to change.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
Drastically. My whole life. I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm more on purpose, I'm serving more. It shifted, but it isn't because I published a book. Mm-hmm. It's because I shifted my life through all of these things, and I didn't give up.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's powerful. And thanks also for clarifying and making the distinction. I love that. I'm learning so much right now. I love it. Even though I've been doing this work for, a decade, there's still so much to learn. So thank you. I see that we're coming up to near the end of our time. And before we go, I definitely do want to talk about, I believe that you have a free gift or offer that you're offering to our listeners today. Can you tell us more about that?
My favorite thing. It's called the Divine Love Meditation. Don't let the words fool you. Mm-hmm. It's not like this. It's so deep. So this meditation actually, again, came. I was doing a class, and they said I knew I was going to do a meditation. I was told, record this on your phone, because as soon as I finish a meditation, I forget it, and they know I forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, record it. So I hit my record on my little, my telephone. It wasn't a great recording, and this meditation was so powerful for everyone. And what they told me once I recorded it, and then I re-recorded it, so it's better. And what they told me was, this meditation is all about giving and receiving. I bring you to the quantum field, and I open you up through your heart of giving and receiving. And what they said was, light workers, spiritual people, star seeds, whatever words, whatever box you need to put yourself in, we are great, fantastic at giving. Receiving, not so much. So this meditation is all about giving and receiving. And I'm telling you, I've had people who I suggest everybody do it 5 days for 30, 5 days a week at least for 30 days, and see what's different in your life. I've had people say, I'm happier. At first, I couldn't receive anything. I was so stressed out, but now the receiving, and all of a sudden, like, new opportunities are coming up in my life. So if you utilize this, like if you do a meditation once, it's like going to the gym once. Is that really going to help you? Probably not. Yeah. But if you make it a practice, it will change. The frequency of your vibration will change. It's definitely very powerful. And it's really, I feel like it's my passion to get it out to people, because we all need to receive, because that's the language of the universe. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? Giving and receiving is the language of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to flow both ways to create the flow. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners. We're going to definitely send that out an email, or there'll be also a link in the speaker page. So I want to just say, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing your time, your wisdom. You've been so generous with the gift also. This has been a fabulous talk. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I love talking about this stuff. When you said Akashic Records, I was like, yeah, I'm in. So thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm definitely very so lucky to have you here today. And for all our listeners out there, if you want to learn more about the Akashic Records and learn like a new dimension on it or a new modality that works with it, keep on listening to these interviews. We still have so much more to share. The Akashic Records are a very vast place, and there's a lot to talk about and unpack. So thank you. And we'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much, Melissa.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.